Hey guys, there was something trending on X today about Dune 2 and how the romantic interest between Paul and Cheney, it looks like Chani, but Frank Herbert pronounced it Cheney, it really didn't work in the movie. And people were trying to, oh, is it because of racism? Why is this a romantic interest? It seems to fall flat. And this is also sort of related to there was another big box office that released the Mad Max series, Furiosa. And it's like Mad Max, but the girl lead, kick ass. And it failed. And I haven't seen Furiosa, so I'm not going to comment on that too much. Although I know the type of movie, I could kind of predict it. But I did watch Dune 2, and I can explain why the romantic part really fell flat in Dune 2, and why the whole girl boss theme is really starting to fall flat. And girl boss theme is, the empowered kick-ass woman, you know the type. It's been around probably now for 30 years. It's really popular in Hollywood. I think it was because of feminism. The fundamental problem with this when it comes to romance, I mean, it can work in action movies like Kill Bill, or even the video game Tomb Raider, Laura Croft. Do you remember her? I mean, it works in that situation because it's not really a romantic love interest. It's a hot girl with big tits kicking ass, and a lot of young boys, they like to watch that. The girl has big tits and small waist, which represents youth and fertility, and guys get off on that. So that can work successfully as a to make money, but it won't work romantically. And when you try to put a real romance in a movie with a girl boss, it defies biology. And that's fundamentally the problem, because these characters like Cheney, and I assume Furiosa, I haven't watched that, they're not really women, they're men with tits. Cheney is a man with tits. That's all she is. Her whole personality is that of another man. And typically men aren't attracted to men, they're attracted to women. And we have to go through the traditional trope or storyline that goes back to Shakespeare, even farther back than that. I guess the old Greeks, they had this. And it was written this way, the trope, because it represented reality and biology. And so basically what the traditional storyline is you would have a man meet a woman. And let's use a recent movie where this was done. Let's say Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, with Han Solo and Leia, right? So the man meets a woman, and immediately the woman is a prize due to her youth and beauty. And so she doesn't have to do anything. And that's the difference between men and women. Men are desired based on what they accomplished. Women are desired based on what they are. And if a woman is young and pretty, her accomplishments really don't mean anything in a romantic sense. A man's going to be attracted to her. Whereas women, because based on biology, they have to be more selective. Yeah, they can find a man handsome, but they want something else with a man. They want the man to sort of prove himself that he's successful or he's dynamic. And again, there's some biological reasons for that, because she wants to pass on those traits to a potential son. So this is the difference, right? So the man meets a woman, let's say Han Solo meets Princess Leia. Well, right away, Han Solo sees Princess Leia as desirable. She doesn't have to do anything. She's young, she's thin. Immediately, he finds her sexually attractive. Now, a woman, that was Princess Leia, may find Han Solo attractive too, but that's not enough, right? In his case, he had that bad boy edge, which is somewhat desirable, but she's like, well, no, that's not enough. He's got to show more than that. So initially, she will reject his advances. Not necessarily a hard reject, but like, you gotta show me more than this. And she's kind of bitchy. Shakespeare had this with Taming the Shrew, where the woman is just kind of very upset and difficult to deal with. And again, she's unconsciously testing how the man will react to that. So typically what happens then, the man will go on some heroic adventure. It's the old knight killing the dragon type of thing. Or in case of Han Solo, he turns out to be the good guy, even though he's a smuggler, and he risks his life for the rebellion, the Republic. That so he proves himself worthy of her. So the man wins the woman. The man then tames the woman. The woman ceases to be bitchy and she loves him. And then you have the happy ever after type of a plot. That's how it works. And audiences like it, both men and women, because it appeals to their biology. Men look at the male character and they're like, yeah, that woman, she is hot. She is a prize. But look at this guy. He did great things. He inspired himself to defeat the dragon or defeat the evil empire, and he wins the girl. And women in the audience like it, like, oh, he's a handsome man, but he's more than that. Yeah, he's kind of rough around the edges at first, but he proves himself, and that they fall for that. So he has a high status. This is how the whole thing works. And again, I believe, I'm on the right, I believe this is based on biology. And there's reasons for this, right? There's reasons men are attractive to young women. It's not because they're sick creepos, it's biology. Younger women are able to have babies easier, and they're less likely to have birth defects and so forth. So men, they look at markings of youth, which tend to be it's like small waist, looking youthful. But they also look more at breeding, we used to call it. Do they look intelligent? Because again, unconsciously, you understand your genes could be passed on, and you want someone that's going to be smart or of a higher breeding. So that's why you're attracted to the woman, let's say, that is blonde and very nice features and her face is symmetrical. It's innate within us to desire that. So that is what really drives that. And women, though, they need to make sure the men have more than just the physical appearance. So they want a man to be worthy of her by doing heroic things. And you see that example like Han Solo with Princess Leia. That's why that dynamic worked. Now, it doesn't work, or it didn't work in Dune 2 for a couple of reasons. And in Dune 2, Cheney was a girl boss, meaning she was a bitch. She was just as good as Paul, even though he was the hero. And at first, they had a conflict where she said, oh, you can't even sneak around the sands very good. And that could be okay. Again, that started off that whole bitch dynamic. But then in a traditional mode, what would happen? He would have to prove herself to her to win her affection. But see, that could never happen in Dune 2 because of feminism. She had to be an equal. And the other issue, if you take a look at look at Cheney here. Here she is. And I'm not talking about the actress. I'm talking about the character. Maybe this is makeup. But she's extremely ugly. And it looks really, from a European point of view, very poor breeding. This is not something a traditional hero is going to aspire to risk his life for. Compared to, let's take a look at Princess Leia. And here she's quite beautiful. She's thin. She has a femininity. Well, she's still strong. She's a princess. But it's a whole different dynamic here. So a Princess Leia character, a man's willing to go on a heroic adventure for. Not how the movie portrayed Cheney. Now, it was different in the book, but in the movie, they had to make her empowered. And then what happens at the end? Cheney, the whole movie, there was no sparks between Paul and Cheney. She was always pouting and looked really ugly and upset at Paul. So they never had that dynamic of Paul winning the prize by doing a heroic deed. Instead, she and Paul were kind of partners. She was like his buddy in a sense. She was basically a man with tits doing all this other stuff. And then she ended up being bitter about him at the end anyway. It just didn't work. The whole love interest didn't make any sense. And this is what we're seeing in movies in general. So again, you can have the girl boss if it's just funny action movie like Kill Bill, where a hot blonde is kicking ass, or the Tomb Raider, the big tit girl, because again, you're appealing to young boys. It's not a romantic storyline. But if you're going to introduce a romantic storyline, you got to write a woman as a woman. And you got to have her attractive. You can't have some ugly woman that's like some empowered girl boss bitch. No guy's going to want to fight for that. It just falls flat. And you have to have a man that is able to tame the woman based on his exploits, because women are hypergamous. Otherwise, he's just a guy, Paul. He's going to be the leader of the universe one day. And instead, he's like being nagged and bitched by this ugly sand woman. It just doesn't make any sense. So, see, free advice to Hollywood if they will take it. If you want to go back to have interesting romances in movies, have a woman that's attractive, that is desirable, and go through the usual line, the traditional role where the man has to prove himself to win the love interest of the woman. But of course they can't do that because, sexism, we got to make women just the same as men. But that's not reality. Talk to you guys later.